Well, good evening. Thank you very much for joining me live tonight. Those of you on the rewatch crew, glad you're here too. We had a quick change of plans. We have been going through the case of Judge Kevin Mullins, the murder of Judge Kevin Mullins down in Letcher County, Kentucky. But there have been there's been one major update that has come down the pike in the Madeline Soto case. So let's just real quick do a refresher on Madeline. Madeline was a 13-year-old young woman, middle schooler. I don't know if it was I think it was Hunters Creek Middle School, may have been junior high. Semantics, doesn't matter. 13 years old. And one day her mom's on again, off again boyfriend, at this point it was off again, Stephan Stearns, apparently was to take Madeline to school that day. You can hear the sarcasm in my voice, right? And lo and behold, she didn't make it to school. When her mom, Jennifer Soto, went to pick her up that day, February 26th of 2024, Madeline was nowhere to be found. And they found out later that she didn't show up to any classes. And we've gone over this case so much, and it's because it's an important case. This young woman, as the police began to investigate her disappearance, they quickly came to the belief that this was going to be a murder investigation. A few days later, on March 1st of last year, her little body was found discarded in a field next to like a hedge of bamboo in the St. Cloud, Florida area. Okay? Now, during their investigation, Mr. Stearns voluntarily handed over his phone, a phone that he had said he accidentally factory reset twice. However, when he put it back to its normal settings, it was still connected to his Google Drive. And what was on that Google Drive but 1,700 photos and videos of him abusing little Miss Maddie. In addition to that, there were over 30,000 other CSAM photos, and he was quickly arrested and charged first with 60 counts of battery. You guys know what I mean by battery, right? She had been SA'd for at least 5 years from the time that she was about 8 years old. And so there are two cases against Mr. Stearns. First, the case that we're talking about today, which is the 60 counts of, we're going to call it SA, even though it's battery, right? And then there's also the murder charge. Now, we went over some documents in the murder trial a couple days ago, or when was that? About a little over a week ago. Mr. Stearns kind of crying that he's being vilified through his lawyers, of course, and that's my characterization of it. It's my opinion of it. But we've got a new motion this time in the SA trial, and that motion I'm going to bring up here is a motion asking the court to close all of the pretrial proceedings. He wants them closed to the public. He wants them all private. Now, this is only a 3-page document, and keep in mind that both cases are separate from one another. Both cases, they're separate case numbers and the whole thing. This one currently has a trial scheduled, if memory serves from this morning when I looked at it, in May. The other one currently has a trial slated for September, if memory serves. You guys can correct me in the comments if you'd like, if I'm wrong, which is certainly possible. But it's not going to, guys, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in May. It's not going to happen in September. There's so many motions that are going to be made here. The defense has, let's bring up Maddie's picture. The defense has telegraphed their intention to inundate the court with motion after motion after motion. We are going to be in for a long ride here. And I did not mean to say that with a picture of Maddie on a ride, but we are going to be on a long ride here. Okay, this is something that's going to take a while. Now, before we get into this document, I did notice that some of you already know that if you put GF in your comment, that will highlight it on my end so that I can see it. And Demon Hugger's friend Todd says, Gavin, nothing accidental about a factory reset. Give me a break. Goodness. Indeed, Todd. Bonnie says, caught alive. Well, Bonnie, I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much for being here. And then Autumn, of course, is telling you guys, definitely put a GF in your comment if you want me to see it. Horror Queen 1988. Gavin, sorry for commenting so early, but I want to let you know that Rotten Mango did an incredible deep dive into this case. If you're interested, she's on YouTube. I will check it out. Thank you very much. Okay. Hot mess to hot mom. That's definitely in my top 10 YouTube handles. Okay, good deal. Here we go. We are going to come on over here. Remember to put that GF in your comments if you want me to see it. Okay, what does this motion say? Comes now the defendant, Stephan Stearns. This is Mr. Stearns. By and through the undersigned counsel. His counsel are public defenders, which is no indication on whether or not they're competent and good counsel. They likely are very good counsel. But he was ruled indigent, so he's got public defenders. Pursuant to the 5th, 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution and Article 1, Sections 2, 9, 16, and 17 of the Florida Constitution. Oh my goodness. Wow, that was a sneeze. That was a sneeze. Sorry. Moves this court to enter an order closing all pretrial proceedings in this case to the press and the public. Grounds in support of this motion. Mr. Stearns is charged with multiple counts of SB on a child under 12, SB on a child in 12 to 18 familial custodial authority, lewd or lascivious. We're going to just say, you guys can read that word right there. Wow, there we go. And unlawful possession of material depicting, we're going to call it CSAM, 10 or more images. And yes, indeed, this is what he is charged with. The case has been the subject of unprecedented, wow. Take two. Everybody take two. We're going to cut that out in post. This case has been subject of unprecedented and highly prejudicial publicity and media attention in Osceola County, adjacent areas of Osceola County, a majority of the state of Florida, outside the state of Florida, and even internationally. I don't know if unprecedented is, they're going to make an argument for that. I don't know if it's unprecedented. I mean, especially in Florida, crying out loud. How about, what's her name? Casey. What is her name? Why am I blanking on her name? Little daughter, Kaylee. Anyway, doesn't matter. You guys will help me out. So yeah, not unprecedented. And then highly prejudicial, maybe. I mean, I still think they're going to be able to find plenty of jurors here. So yeah, it might be prejudicial. I mean, we're prejudiced. I am, but only because of all of the material that I have read, all of the reports. So every time I talk about this, I will say something like, police allege that, blah, 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 blah. And I will usually say, and I believe them. And that is the case. These reports, these recordings, the interviews, everything, I believe it. So yeah, I'm probably prejudiced by my belief now, but I still think it's going to be okay. They're going to be able to find a jury. I mean, we've talked about this. There are people in Kissimmee who still haven't heard of this. Plenty of them. Okay. Paragraph 3, Casey Anthony. Thank you very much. It was Casey Anthony. Okay, paragraph 3. At every court proceeding, however minor or inconsequential, there has been extensive coverage by the press, as well as social media users on YouTube, TikTok, X, and Facebook. It is anticipated that the press will continue to be active and aggressive in the coverage of all events and proceedings in this case. Now, who's being prejudicial? I don't know that we've been aggressive beyond the proper amount of aggression as members of the Fourth Estate, right? But okay, that seems pretty prejudicial. Paragraph number 5. Counsel for Mr. Stearns intends to pursue numerous pretrial motions of evidentiary and legal significance to the preservation of Mr. Stearns' right to a fair trial. Well, good, because I love that Florida is a free and open state when it comes to public records, and you should pursue numerous pretrial motions of evidentiary and legal significance. But we also, because it is a public, it is trials and hearings are public meetings, we should have access to those. Paragraph 6. The types of motions Mr. Stearns expects to pursue include, but are not limited to, motions to suppress, motions to exclude evidence, motions in limine of irrelevant and prejudicial testimony and evidence, and many other motions, which would include a motion for a change of venue if the media coverage of this case continues as it has, so that Mr. Stearns cannot receive a fair trial in Osceola County and most of the state of Florida. I'm telling you, you're going to be able to get a jury. It's not going to be a problem. We live in this little bubble of true crime. They live in a little bubble that includes true crime, but is their work as defense attorneys. Most people in the state of Florida haven't even heard of this. Most people don't watch the news, guys. It's, whenever I'm watching the news or reading, I usually read the news. I hardly ever watch the news. Whenever there's like a poll, it could be, a product poll or a political poll or something like that. There's always a certain amount of people that don't know. They'll ask some question that is like so obvious. In your world, is the sky blue, green, or don't know? And there will be a certain amount of people that don't know. Those are the people that are uninformed, and they are everywhere. They're going to be able to get a fair trial. Come on. Okay. But this is a telegraph of what they're going to be doing. We're talking about motions to suppress, motions to exclude. This is why I keep saying there's no chance that this trial is happening this year. It's not going to happen. Okay, paragraph 7. Counsel for Mr. Stearns has already filed 3 motions to suppress, which various media users have read, dissected, and commented on extensively. Guilty. These motions will require testimony and discussion of the evidence in this case prior to trial. In some instances, this could involve evidence which may later be found to be inadmissible. Included in these discussions of Mr. Stearns' evidence will be Mr. Stearns' statements to the police, the medical examiner's findings, and potentially discussions on evidence related to statements from minor children. Okay, these are the arguments that they're making in order to make all of the pretrial proceedings private. There are already mechanisms in place to address things like that. They will be able to redact minor children and things like that. Okay. Paragraph 9. Public dissemination of these items of evidence will prevent Mr. Stearns from receiving a fair trial. Public discussion in the press in the form of news stories, polls, letters to editors, and editorials will lead to an environment which will preclude Mr. Stearns from being afforded a fair trial in Osceola County and most of the state of Florida. I cry bunk on that. Counsel for Mr. Stearns feels there's no suitable alternative measure to protect Mr. Stern's right to a fair trial under the United States and Florida constitutions other than closure of all pre-trial hearings. Wherefore, Mr. Stearns moves this court to enter an order closing all pretrial proceedings or in the alternative all pretrial evidentiary hearings, or enter any other orders which the court believes will ensure Mr. Stearns' right to a fair trial. Signed, Alicia C. Smith from the Public Defender's Office. Well, good luck to you, Ms. Smith. I want to say Dr. Smith. You know, these people are highly educated. They have doctors of jurisprudence. Why don't we call them doctor? I don't know. Doesn't matter. So I guess I commented along the way my feelings on this. You guys know where I stand. Let's see where you guys stand. Let's bring this down, bring this up. Let's refresh my screen, and let's see. Let's bring Maddie's picture up. Gavin, happy to be here live, and thank you for scheduling out your lives. You're welcome. I've got one more to schedule in on Monday. We have Julie Cowley coming to visit with us about the Ellen Greenberg case. I was talking to somebody about the Amanda Winkowski case today. There's some movement over there. It's awesome. So, but yes, I'm happy to do that. I try to make it so that you guys know what's going on. Rosalina Mares says, Gavin, how dumb is he to think he could slide by unsuspectingly? Yeah, I don't, I mean, I agree with you. I think he's dumb. And beyond that, I think he's sick. I think he's gross. I think he is a menace. I think that he is an abuser. I think that he is a murderer. There's a lot of stuff on there. However, remember when we talked to Beth Meeks? Mr. Stearns may not be all dumb, man, because he had a full-time job this was his thing. I'm certain of it. Well, it's my opinion, but I feel so certain that Maddie was not his first victim, because you don't just start this, and you don't, if you have this illness, you don't become satiated by the continued abuse of one person. I think that he had done it before. I think he'd done it many times before. I think that he had honed his skill as a predator. He targeted this woman who was the gatekeeper to his prey, and he manipulated them very well. So maybe while not being super intelligent, maybe he is kind of dumb, but he is a good predator. It got away with it for like 5 years. So yeah. Let's see. Yes, Kate C. Anthony. Thank you guys for telling me that. Daisy said, Gavin, I was finding your beard to start looking like Stearns the other day. So happy you cleaned it. I have the like gray skunk stripes. I have the gray beard. Maybe I should go by Captain Graybeard. No, but I was growing it out. It does feel better to have it trimmed, though. It does feel better. Alice in Oregonland says, I have other words, but this is a family show. Yeah, there's a lot. Betty Lester says, Gavin, I've missed a lot, but I was wondering about Maddie's father. Has he commented? I have not seen anything where he has commented publicly. Her father is this guy, a man named Tyler Wallace. It didn't appear that he had a lot to do with Madeline in his life. He did not live a perfect life. He definitely has had his own struggles, but he appeared to have loved Madeline. And he did say that if he found out that Jennifer had anything to do with the abuse, and the murder of his daughter, that he would use all legal remedies to go after her. The man that I found, or the people, let's say this, the people that I found to be the most loving toward Maddie were her short-time stepfather. This guy's name is Stephan Young. He was married to Jennifer Soto for a while, but as she began to have mental health issues, he decided that he needed to protect his daughter, and they divorced. I think that Stephan Young did love her deeply, and his daughter loved her deeply as well. I'm not going to show her photo, but I think she did. I think that her Aunt Stephanie did. I think that while a little creepy in the way that she was interviewed, I feel like Yolanda probably did. And I really deeply believe that Juan Soto, her grandfather, deeply loved his granddaughter. So she did have people around her that loved her and would have wanted to protect her. And I think, like, I know this is extending a lot of grace, but I think it's warranted. I think they just didn't know. I really do. I think it was all under their nose. And it's tragic. I love this picture. I just love this picture. Did you guys have a relationship with your grandparents, or like a good relationship with your grandparents? I had a terrific relationship with my grandparents, and my one grandmother lived all the way into my 40s. She was 92, 91, just shy of 92. And, so it was such a blessing to have that relationship. My kids remember their great grandmother really well, and that's a blessing. But I look at a picture like this and I think about, the relationship I had with both of my grandmothers, both of my grandfathers, how much they loved and protected me, cared for me. This is what it looks like in Maddie's case, especially with Juan. I just wish that this monster hadn't been anywhere near her. And this one's a piece of work for sure. Oh, it just angers me, man. Thanks for that comment, Betty. Let's see. Medi says, even if he takes the trial to the moon, he'll still lose. Yeah. Mel Mack says, Stephan Sturridge needs to just plead guilty and spare everyone, especially family, a trial. Yeah, it all boils down to incentives, right? What is his incentive to avoid a trial? During this process, there will be negotiations happening between the defense and the prosecution. I felt like Stephan Sturridge would probably plead this out, just because statistically it happens. But I remember Duty Ron coming on and saying he would bet his pension that it will go to trial. And that's a guy with way more experience than I have. So I don't know. I kind of wish he'd play out too. Let's see. Yeah, no fighting in Alive. Thank you, Robin Bernardi. South Philly Lily says, I just read an article today about the love of one grandparent can heal your trauma. Well, that's sweet. I won the family lottery when I was born. My parents are amazing. My grandparents were amazing. My brothers and sisters are all awesome. I won the lottery of families. And even without that kind of deep familial trauma that many people experience, I still had the love of grandparents who just loved me. And it's a deep blessing. Tish says, I had a great relationship with my grandparents and was blessed to have many years with my great grandparents too. That's awesome. I wish I would have. I have a picture of me with my great grandpa when I was 1. But anyway, let's see. South Philly Lily says, I don't know how to feel about the grandfather. He could have said, get in her own room and collected one less rent check. Yeah. So again, like I try to see it both ways, and I'm not making excuses one way or the other, but I am trying to see it both ways. I think that Stephan should not have been there for sure. I don't know that Juan was pushing for more renters. I don't know that he wasn't either, in fairness. But yeah, he definitely made some critical errors, some seriously critical errors here. But I don't think that he did it out of greed for rent money, I guess. I don't know. Reese says, Gavin, I think he will plea out if they lose all the BS motions. Maybe he will eventually. I hope that is the case. Thanks for that super chat. DM was also blessed with wonderful grandparents. Marilyn says, Stephan looks like and reminds me of Rasputin, who manipulated the royal family. A little bit. I do think that he was very good at it. I think that he was very, very good at it. Joy says, Gavin, I wish her stepdad could have stayed with Jen, then none of this would have happened, not under his watch. Yeah, but I also understand, how do I say this? You guys might disagree with me. It's totally cool if you do. But you know how you watch your parents raise you, and as you get older, you think back on how they did. And if you had great parents, then you will try to emulate them, right? And that's the case in my case. My parents are terrific. And there's some things that I didn't agree with how they did things. And Kimberly and I have decided to do things differently. But we did emulate this one thing that my parents did, and that is that they put one another first, even before us kids. So we knew that Dad's number one priority was mom, and mom's number one priority was dad. And then the team, mom and dad's number one priority was us kids. That's how it worked out. And I think that is the natural way to do things. Your spouse comes first, then your children. Unless you come into a marriage with children. If you then come into a marriage with children, you have to put the child first and your spouse second. I think that's the proper thing to do. So when we're talking about Mr. Young, if he's seeing a danger to his daughter in the form of his spouse, I really believe that he made the right decision to put his daughter first. Having said that, Joyce, I wish that the way I would rephrase it is I wish that Jen's mental health had stayed good and strong so that he didn't have to leave. I guess that's how I would say it. Mooney, are you out gifting memberships? Mooney, you're the best. The OG. Thanks, Mooney. See if there's anything. Oh, Tanya says Gavin Tyler has Maddie's remains. Thanks, Tanya. I appreciate that. Maddie says, with all due respect, Tyler is a sad excuse of a father, too. If he was better of a father, Maddie wouldn't have suffered so much. Yeah, could be. It's possible. He had issues for sure. For sure he had issues. Tish says, I don't think they'll have any trouble seating a jury, but if they do, go for a change of venue. I hope they bring it to my county. I'll be there every day of the trial. Good for you, Tish. I do enjoy sitting and watching trial. It's fun to do. Rosalina says, Gavin, what I'm saying is that he didn't think that one all the way through. Yes, he's a predator to take some intelligence for keeping it going so long, but he didn't see it to the end very well. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you at all there. It's a great comment. Schmoopy says, Gavin, where can I get a cool cup like yours? You know who you need to ask? You need to ask Mooney and Autumn, because it was a gift from them. I don't know where they got it. It's amazing, but thank you for the gift. If I haven't said it enough times, Autumn and Mooney. All right, Todd. Gavin, when do these motions get ruled on? Does it just go before a judge with both sides present, or are there further negotiations? Yeah, it actually depends. Sometimes a judge will, there will be a motion that comes, and then there will be a response to that motion. That's the next thing that we should see, a written response to the motion. The judge would then look at the motion and the response and decide whether there needs to be oral arguments, if he needs to hear more. Then he or she, whoever the judge is, will rule on it. It's a long process. Sometimes it takes months. That's the way it goes. I think I saw. Tish says, a strong marriage builds a strong foundation for the children, so I agree. Well, thank you. Oh, yeah, I did. Bonnie. Thank you very much, Bonnie, for the super chat. You guys are taking care of me, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Michael says, our children are both our number one priority. I think that's the way it should be. That's the way my parents did it. That's the way Kimberly and I did it. And continue to do it. That's the way we like it. Christine says, Gavin, have they released no audio at all from the jail since last February? It seems just dead air on his case in months and months. Other than today, he is insisting no public, no cameras, no audio. Yeah, I haven't seen any other audio. Now, I have a couple team members that are doing the, what are they called? In Pennsylvania, it's called right to know law. In New York, it's the FOIA law. FOIA. They're doing the FOIAs. And so they're a little more boots on the ground than I am. But I haven't seen anything yet. Arnold says, Gavin, will the judge for the motions be the same for the trial? It depends. It depends on the court. Typically, the answer would be yes. Sometimes in courts where there's just a big load of cases, they will have teams of judges and team leaders of those groups of judges. And sometimes the team leaders will hear the motions. But I think here in Osceola County, it will be the same judge all the way through. Reese's mom disagrees with me. Kids should always come first. Adults have the ability to care for themselves. Children do not. Yeah, I just disagree. I think that for me, Kimberly's number one. But for the team of Kimberly and Gavin, our kids are number one. That's just me. Okay. Kimberly Reyes says, I'm 42, was blessed with amazing grandparents too. They weren't good parents. I guess they learned. I was particularly close with my paternal grandma. She passed away around Christmas time last year in 91. Well, that is a blessing that she was around for so long, Kimberly. I'm glad that you had that time with her. Medi says that's what my parents do too, and I love the way my parents defend each other and put each other even before myself and my siblings. I think that's the right way. But, you can disagree with me, and it's perfectly fine as long as we remain civil, right? Tanya adding, Maddie was cremated. Her dad has her ashes. She's at rest in Texas with him. I think that's sweet. Gavin, was Juan collecting the rent, or were they Jen's sublets? I don't know specifically. I believe that Jen was responsible for a certain amount every month because Juan had kind of gone off on van life. And I think having Jen live there was a way for him to be able to afford that, not having to pay a mortgage payment. So I feel like, but I don't know this, I feel like there was a certain amount that Jen had to pay. And then above that, she kept the rest. But I don't know. You know what? Bree. If Bree's on tonight, I haven't seen Bree, but if she's on, she could help me out. Panda Ann says, Gavin, I think the only reason Stephan is taking it to trial is for self-gratification purposes. It will be the only way to see pictures of Maddie and relive all of it, I guess, in his head. I mean, it's possible. I mean, he's a sick person. Sick person. King Timothy. Stephan's a coward, putting it nicely, waiving all his court appearances. Everything he's done deserves to be brought to light. Yeah, and I feel like he has waived those court appearances so that he didn't have to be in front of the cameras. He's embarrassed, and he should be. He should be. Kim says, Gavin, they haven't waived speedy trial on the murder case. Do you think the motions are partly a delay to delay the CSAM trial past the trial for the murder so the CSAM conviction won't be factor in the death penalty? Maybe. I mean, maybe that's their strategy. I haven't looked to see if it's the same judge on both cases, but I believe it is. I mean, I could look it up. Let's look that up because this is worth checking out. Let's see. I need to mute this tab so we don't incept myself here. But there's a link in the description to all of my videos about Maddie over to the Osceola Criminal Court search page. So let's open that up. Here, I'll bring you over to the website. Let's prove I'm not a robot and search. I don't know if you guys ever go to these. I can't remember which one is which. Yeah, okay, so this is the CSAM one. The judge is Keith Karsten. Now, if we go to, we'll have to step twice. Yeah, okay, so 1293, the judge is also Keith Karsten. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's possible. Possible. I mean, the defense would have some sort of defense strategy, and that does seem like that would be something that I would use if I were a defense lawyer, for sure. Great question. And yeah, great comment. South Philly Lily says, I don't even think he has an incentive, but we know he never accepts blame. His mother told us that he'll lie to the end. Joyce says, I personally know someone that is facing 150 years in federal prison for essay of a child. Any ideas for SS would get the person I know, put it on the dark web so it's federal charges. He's facing life without parole, and he's facing death in the murder case. That's what I think. Lee says, Gavin, I try to think of Maddie having a wonderful last full day getting to be with Grandpa Juan at her birthday party. Let's get Stephan's picture off of here. Let's see. Horror Queen, 88. Gavin, I still have a great relationship with my maternal grandparents. Grandfather just turned 91, grandmother 88, still trying to run circles around everyone. Well, that's terrific. What a blessing. Does he have separate lawyers for both trials? Well, let's go over there and take a look again. I don't think so. I think they are the same lawyers. We've got I think It just says public defender. Let's see. Yeah, it's just going to say the public defender. So I think so. And if we look over, if you guys give me a second, here, I'm going to bring up this page while I look in my files real quick. Give me a second. Somebody knows the answer to this question so much faster than me, and you're like shaking your fist at your computer right now. But okay, in the SB case, he is defended by Alicia C. Smith, right? In the murder case, he is defended by Elizabeth E. Bourbon. Let's see if that's the case on all of these things. So they're both in the public defender's office, but they are different attorneys. Great question. Crying out loud. You guys are on top of things. Tammy 1, 73,999. Gavin, seriously good question. Has there ever been a case like this that hasn't had a fair trial in the history of forever? I think people could make an argument that there hasn't been, but I mean the system is designed to make it as fair as possible, to weed out the ones that would be biased. I'm trying to think of when I served on that jury years and years and years ago on that double homicide. I was the second person in the jury pool that was voir dired. And they didn't even ask me much. They were just like, no, we want you. You have a seat in the box. That's the way it went. It's crazy. There's so much evidence against Stephan Stearns that, yes, presumably innocent. I mean, yeah, there's a lot. Jessica Hoover, we don't have death penalty in London, Ontario, Canada, and we don't agree with it. Life in prison is far worse, we believe. Yeah, a lot of people believe that, and I can respect that opinion for sure. I believe, Tish, that he is. Okay, a couple more before we go. Leona is catching us from New Brunswick. Glad that you are, and love to hear Real Happy 33 that your grandmother will be 100 years old in May. How terrific. I love it that there are so many good people in the world. I am very sorry that there is this man in the world who allegedly, according to police, abused little Miss Maddie for 5 years. And I wish that those people were not in the world. It's just so... I mean, look at these pictures of little Maddie. Look at that. Their little roosty poosty on a drum set. Oh my goodness, the stage of life where all the teeth are falling out and giant grown-up teeth are growing in. Just such an adorable little child, and did not deserve the life that was ruined by this man. Ooh, okay, last one. Anna Marie. Will Jen be questioned by his defense to take the heat off of Stephan, you think? Yes, I think. Yes, I do think. Okay, so guys, next week, what are we doing next week? Nothing over the weekend, but next week, we, on Monday, will be joined by Julie Cowley, talking about Ellen Greenberg. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we will be back on the Judge Mullins case. Please remember, you can always get case docs and files and photos. I mean, look at this page, chock full of stuff in the case at gavinfish.com. Thank you very much to my patrons that make that possible. If you ever want to reach out to me, click on this little link right here. That will take you to a form. I do get these every single day. They do not go to spam. I read all of them. Click on the little fishy up there to join the fish tank on Facebook if that is your thing. And always on the front page of my website, there are true crime stories that we're publishing on CrimeCod, our true crime website. And if you go to crimecod.com, you can check out my newsletter It's a growing list, everybody. That is my shameless self-promotion. Oh, now let me shamelessly promote my amazing mods led by Autumn. If you go to the support tab on my website, you can buy my mod a coffee. I've noticed a few of you done that over the last couple of days. Thank you for taking care of her. And I think my mods have probably put it out there, but if you want to be a mod, I don't know that we're necessarily looking for many right now, but if you want to be a mod, there is a link. Maybe Jamie, you can put that up in the, not Jamie, I'm sorry, Autumn, maybe you can put that up in the live, and you can apply to be a mod. I have not looked at those applications in a while. I will take a look this weekend. Okay. That, guys, thanks so much for being here. I bid you adieu. We'll see you on Monday. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.